the latest flanker to the Male line, Male Elixir Absolu. Hey guys, I'm George, the nice smelling gentleman, and I hope that all of you are doing great. It's time for your daily dose of some fragrance content, and today I'm going to share with you my very initial impressions of the latest release from the brand of Jean-Paul Gaultier and the Male line, which is called Male Elixir Absolu. Now, I'm a huge fan of the whole Male line from the brand of Jean-Paul Gaultier, and for me, the previous release in this line, which is called simply Male Elixir, was the best fragrance release of 2023. I really like this one. It has a very nice scent profile. It's a very sweet fragrance that is a compliment magnet and has absolutely superb performance as well. So I was really interested to see what will be the next release in this line, and when I heard about this newest flanker, which is called Male Elixir Absolu, I was really interested to see what they are going to do with the scent itself. I managed to try this one about a week ago. I tried it in store and I decided that I want to have a bottle. I ordered one online because it had a slightly lower price, and just earlier today I received this fragrance. So today I'm going to share my very first impressions on Male Elixir Absolu. But first of all, let's take a very quick look at the packaging and the presentation. The presentation of Male Elixir Absolu is very similar to the other members of this line of fragrances. You get this tin can looking box. This time around there are no accent colors. Basically the only thing that you get color wise is this golden color. I personally bought the 75 ml bottle size, and the concentration of this fragrance is Parfum Intense, so it's like a perfume or an extrait de parfum concentration or similar to that. Then the bottle design is identical to the other members of the Male line, and as you can see here, standing next to Male Elixir, it looks almost identical apart from this additional accent color. In the case of Male Elixir, of course, it's this reddish color, and Male Elixir Absolu actually relies again only on the golden color itself. Other than that, they're pretty much identical. And now, let's talk about the more important things like the scent itself and the performance. Keep in mind that I've had this only for a day, so I've given it only one wear, but I can still talk a little bit about performance a little bit and later on. First of all, let's check out the sprayer. The sprayer, as usual with these fragrances, is actually very nice. It's kind of pressurized, has very good distribution. And the scent itself. Now, the first question is does this one feel different enough to the OG Male Elixir in order to to be worthy of buying? Well, I have like two answers for this question. On one hand, yes, but then on the other hand, not really. And I'll talk about the similarities between the two of them and the differences a little bit later. First of all, let's quickly talk about the scent of this one. Now, this is a quite a sweet fragrance, a very sweet fragrance, pretty much like Male Elixir. It opens up with that very signature combination of notes for the whole line, the Male line. You'll get some cardamom, you'll get a bit of the minty freshness, you'll get some sweetness from the vanilla note. Of course, you'll get the lavender, which gives this one sort of an aromatic feel as well. And also with this one, there's the addition of a fruity note, which in this case is a plum note. It's a very interesting addition, and in a way this is kind of similar to one of the other members of the Male line, which is of course Ultramol, which again has some fruity sweetness, but this doesn't feel as bubblegummy as as Ultramol. This is a slightly darker and has a little bit less of a bubblegummy feel, but still it's quite a sweet fragrance and has quite a fruity opening. Now, in the opening of this one, I also pick up a sort of like a hint of a peppery note that adds a bit more spiciness to the opening of this one. The opening of Male Elixir Absolu also in a way reminds me a little bit of the opening of Male Le Parfum, but this is not as powdery as that fragrance. When this goes into the dry down, it becomes a little bit sweeter. You start to lose some of that freshness and the aromatic nature of the opening. On the dry down, you'll get more vanillic sweetness. There's some tonka bean in here, which adds a bit of powderness to this one. I still think that there's a hint of tobacco in here, but not as strong as you'll get with Male Elixir itself. And all around you also get a lot of that plum sweetness from the plum note on its dry down. So this is again a pretty sweet fragrance, but not as sweet as Le Male Elixir. And now let's talk about the similarities between the two elixirs, Le Male Elixir Absolu and the OG Le Male Elixir. Now, for me, Le Male Elixir Absolu feels like the older brother or the more mature brother of Le Male Elixir. It has less sweetness than Le Male Elixir, it's less of a loud fragrance, it has less of that sticky sweetness that you get out of the original Le Male Elixir. This doesn't have that sticky sweet honey note that you'll find in Le Male Elixir. This is more mature, feels a little bit more powdery as well. Maybe there's a hint of iris note in here as well, and this to my nose feels like a mix between Le Male Elixir and Le Male Le Parfum, with a few sort of drops of Ultra Male in the opening thanks to that fruity sweetness. So it's a little bit less sweet than Le Male Elixir, it's a little bit less loud and less extravagant compared to Le Male Elixir. This feels a little bit more powdery than Le Male Elixir, and all around I think this just feels a little bit more mature and just a slightly more mature take on the scent of Le Male Elixir, the OG Le Male Elixir. It feels a bit like a combination of some of the other Le Male fragrances. And the next question, of course, is the performance. Now, again, I've had this only for a day. I've given it one full wear throughout the day, and I can definitely tell you that this has good performance. Now, it's not as good as Le Male Elixir though. This projects less compared to Le Male Elixir, and it lasts a little bit shorter than Le Male Elixir. It's still a good performing fragrance, don't get me wrong, it's not a bad performer. If on my first wearing I'm getting very solid performance, that means with a little bit of time and sitting around, this probably will get a little bit stronger, but still this is less of a performer, but still gives me easily 8 hours from my first wearing. So performance wise there are no issues with this one. Just keep in mind that this will not last as long as Le Male Elixir and will also not project as hard as Le Male Elixir. Price wise this is relatively new to the market, but I personally paid about 85 euros to get this 75 milliliter bottle size, which in my opinion is a little bit more on the pricey side. But then again, we're talking about a brand new release from Jean Paul Gaultier, so it's bound to be a little bit more expensive. And versatility wise, I don't think this is more versatile than Le Male Elixir, because this is still a very sweet scent. It's definitely more of a cold weather fragrance, definitely more of a nighttime fragrance. I think this has a bit of a mature factor though compared to Le Male Elixir. And then at the end, just a few very quick final thoughts about Le Male Elixir. Again, just to answer the question from the beginning, does this feel different enough than Le Male Elixir to actually be worth buying? Well, yes and no. If you found Le Male Elixir to be a little bit too loud for your taste, a little bit too sticky sweet, a little bit too youthful for your taste, then I think Le Male Elixir Absolu actually rectifies some of those problems that you may find with the OG Le Male Elixir. This is a little bit less sweet, this is a little bit less loud, this is a little bit more powdery, just all around feels a little bit more mature, a little bit more refined. So definitely people who found the OG Le Male Elixir a little bit too sweet and a little bit too youthful, I think, but still like that scent profile, I think they should check this one out. But if you already own Le Male Elixir, I don't think you really need Le Male Elixir Absolu, because this one won't give you anything more, maybe with just the addition of a plum note, but that I think is not enough to make this one not feel redundant. If you are a collector like me, if you want to have fragrances from the line, then I think this is a great fragrance on its own. It just feels a little bit redundant standing next to Le Male Elixir, to the OG Le Male Elixir. All around, I really like this one. It's a great, very solid release from the brand of Jean Paul Gaultier. But again, I can't help but feel that it just is a little bit redundant. So guys, in today's video, I shared with you my very first impressions on a new release from Jean Paul Gaultier, part of the Le Male line, which is called Le Male Elixir Absolu. I hope that you found this video interesting or helpful. If you did, give it a like, and I also hope that you're going to join me tomorrow for your daily dose of some fragrance content. And until then, stay safe and bye bye.